Hello, 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 hello.
कर दिया विनय? Okay. Fine. Good morning all. So welcome to the orientation class of Public Administration Optional. So obviously I think most of you will be knowing me. So if in case, so my name is Manjunath. I normally handle polity governance subjects for your general studies and public administration as an optional. Fine. Okay, so first I think you know the intention of this class is what? So broadly we should get an idea about what do you mean by this public administration. So what is the syllabus of this optional? So what do you call this? Does it have any kind of overlap with general studies or not? What is the advantages? So can I am so and so, I am from engineering background, I am from let's say a BA or BSc background, so or BBM background. So can I opt this option? All those normal doubts will be there. So what about the syllabus? Is it lengthy or not? How the classes will be conducted? So or will the notes be provided or not? Who will be taking the classes? General, broadly we'll give an idea about public administration as an optional. This is actually not the class, take it as just an orientation. Fine? Yeah, so okay. So before we get into the public administration as an optional details, first let's broadly understand about, see we have just broadly, so just to understand so that you get oriented towards mains first. So most of you are what, this year batches, even I think last year batches also few students are there. How many are from 2025 batches? Okay, so that means the rest are from 2026 batches. How many are from 2026? Fine, almost you can say 50-50 I think. Fine. 2025 students will be having a broader idea about this aspect of mains, but at least for 2026, if in case you don't know, so obviously general studies will have 1000 marks, means what? 4 GS papers, each 250 marks, all those things, you know, optional 2 papers, so 500 marks, and then essay, totally 1750 marks, plus you have personality test, that's a different aspect. Obviously, this is in general, you cannot, what do you call this, you cannot say that each and every individual, you know, what do you call this, allocates time like this. Broadly you can say, so most of the students, normal mistake what students commit is because, there is also a reason for that, because you have what 1000 marks, means what, almost 4 GS papers plus essay you have, automatically what will happen, 80 to 90% you can say, or at least 80% of the time, your focus, your energy, everything will go to which one? General studies and essay itself, because as I told, the reason is also too much of syllabus to study. Automatically what will happen, chances are high that mostly you will give 15 to 20% of your time for your optionals. That's a kind of a mistake also, because the point is what, if in case you have seen the optional scores, okay, now it's a relatively, what do you call this, different trend if you have followed the, what do you call this, scores, optional scores of the toppers. For a long time, almost till you can say 2021, 2023, 2022 you can say, so people used to score 300 plus also very easily. In optionals I am telling, we are not talking about GS here. But now in the last 2-3 years, scoring 300 plus in optional is not so easy. Any optional you take, very like if you have seen the top 10, top 20 people, normally they are able to score above 300. All else on an average, the optional scores has come down to around 250 to 260, 250s and 260s is the average score. Anything plus 20 means what, 280 plus, or you are getting in 290s means you have scored very well in your optional. That's how it works as of today, as of based on 3 to 4 years average I am telling. Fine? Okay, so then we'll come to that, all those things, so that you will get a broader idea. Obviously, you know, we'll only talking about the optional related. Normally you have what, you can say totally 8. 8 questions you will have in your optionals. Fine, paper 1 if you take 250 marks, you will have 8 questions. Out of that by now you would have seen, this is your pattern. Fine, so first question will be 5 sub questions, A, B, C, D, E, and each sub question is how many marks? 10 marks, because each and every question will be your 50 marks. Then same way, question number 5 is your 5 questions, 10 marker, 50 mark. Then 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, all of them are your, of course all of them are 50 markers, but there you will have, normally again, there is no, you cannot generalize it, normally 20, 20, 10, sometimes 20, 15, 15. So it depends, not necessary that always you will have 20, 20, 10. Question number 2 might be 20, 20, 10. Question number 3 might be 20, 15, 15. But normally this is the trend. Sir, 5 markers are normally not given in your optional for a very long time, almost 10 years you can say. 5 markers are not there in public administration. Few options they give, medical science, law, all of them they give 5 markers also. But here we don't have that. If you have seen, for example, 2000, 2005 question papers, you will, when you take the question bank, you will understand. So there are, I mean, at that time they used to ask even 60 markers. One question 60 marker, one question 100 marker. So max like 4 or 5 questions, paper done. 100 marker, one 350 marker, you have to write entire one. That's it. But that pattern has gone now. So this is how it is. And obviously, as we have written here, question number 1, question number 5, mandatory. So you have to write it. I think you broadly have an idea by now, right? If in case you don't, just listen to it, just a matter of a few minutes. Then what will happen? Out of this 2, 3 and 4, you have to choose minimum 1. Minimum 1. Out of 6, 7, 8, minimum 1. Then, that means how many are you left out with? One other question you have to choose. That you can choose either from here, either from there. So the point is, question number 1 and question number 5 are mandatory. Out of the pending questions, whatever remaining questions are there, you have to choose minimum 1 out of this, minimum 1 out of this, and then another 1 extra where you can choose either of this, either of this. Sir, can I write it like question, all the 4 I'll write, and then I'll write 5th one, not allowed. You got an idea, right? You cannot write all the questions here. Question number 1 to 4 I'll write. So 50 into 4, 200 marks plus 5. Plus 50 this, 250 marks. Can I do this? You cannot do that. You have to choose, or you have to write at least 1 question in the optional related questions. Options what you have here, wherever you have the choice based questions, There you have to choose minimum 1 in part A, minimum 1 in part B. It's not about, sir, I have written this. This is a mandatory question. This is not your choice question. These are your choice questions. Choice question, minimum 1 you have to mandatorily write. What is, sir, what if I do it like that? I didn't know, but I just attempted. If you do that, obviously that means they will correct your question number 1, 2, 3. Then they will correct your question number 5. That means you will lose out on your entire 50 marker. Sir, I did not know the pattern. How can you say I did not know the pattern when you have prepared the optional for 1 year? So that's not allowed. So that is the basic one. Sir, how should I choose between 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8? That's later. That will come back to that later aspect. This is the basic pattern of the exam. Got an idea, right? Okay. So this is the basic one. Now that's what they have explained. Answer 5 questions out of 8. Part A and B. Sir, what do you mean by this part A and B? That will come back to the syllabus. You will understand. Normally, if you take your paper 1 of optional, public administration optional, you have 12 chapters. 12 chapters in your paper 1. So that means you divide it into sections. How many? Section A. That means your part A will be from how many? Chapter 1 to chapter 6 will be your part A. Chapter 7 to chapter 12 is your part B. But in your paper 2, you have 14 chapters. That means same simple logic. Chapter 1 to chapter 7 or unit 1 to unit 7 is your part A of paper 2. Chapter 8 to chapter 14 is your part B of your paper 2. Got it? Then you will understand later. We will come back to the syllabus part. I think that you got an idea by now. Is that clear, right? So how do they give the questions and how should we attempt it? Then public administration advantage. What do you mean by, what do you call this? This is biggest advantage of public administration. See, for example, let's say someone is from, let's say, medical background. Let's say someone is from law background. Someone has taken, sir, I have done BSc. Yesterday some student had come, so she said, sir, I have done MSc in, I don't know whichever, but she said, I want to opt zoology as an optional. Fair enough, that's her choice. But the challenge is what? Challenge, I think, but you know the technical subjects, the challenge biggest, let's say mechanical engineering, you choose civil engineering, you choose something like that. The biggest challenge is what? Syllabus is very, very huge. Means almost whatever you study in your 4 years of engineering, in your mechanical or civil or electrical, you have to finish entire 4 years in these whatever 3-4 months, 100 days. Let's say 4-5 months only you take. You have to finish that. Then too, obviously what will happen, whatever you study in those technical subjects, there is no single point overlap with your GS. Where do you find your mechanical civil engineering in your GS1 to GS4? Will you bring your civil engineering related, technical things in your essay? How will you bring it? There is no scope there. So obviously, and then obviously the other challenges is you will not get those classes conducted, you will not have the peer group, you will not have mentors or faculties. If you want any doubts, if you want any feedback, you have written answer, you have to go get it corrected, you want to write a test series, those are all challenges. But sir, beyond that also can I opt? Of course you can opt. I am absolutely, any optional will work, any optional will not work. It depends on how confident are you about the subject. Of course, some other challenges are there. We are not denying that. That we'll discuss it. I will try to address most of the normally the queries or concerns that the students will have. But technical subject, this is the challenge. Even beyond that, if you are very confident about your option, you can go ahead. Like for example, normally mechanical, civil, electrical engineering as an optional. If in case you ask us any faculty, even if you ask Vinay sir, normally if in case you are from IIT or NIT background and you have done mechanical, civil, electrical there, absolutely fine, you can go ahead. Sir, I have done it from normal engineering colleges and then can I opt it? Chances are very difficult because every one of us know, if in case you are from engineering background, how seriously have you studied in your engineering, you also know, I also know. So if you are from engineering background, so obviously as an optional to opt, it's not so easy. Sir, but I have done MSc in zoology, can I do it? Yeah, maybe because you have already put 5 years. Sir, I have done my medical, I am from medical MBBS background. So you can choose medicine as an optional because normally medicine, obviously rigorous routine they follow, at least compared to other graduation courses. So they will be relatively more technically oriented. They can opt. Sir, law background, again like your IIT background, means what? If in case you have done your law from National Law School, Bangalore, National Law School, Delhi, something like that, you can go with law optional. Or else, sir, I have done it from KLE College, I have done it from Bangalore University College, can I opt for law as an optional? Not suggested. Because same logic, whatever the logic you apply to engineering, same logic. Because I think understood the point. because you would not have studied it to, in a very detailed manner. Obviously challenge will be there. Got an idea, right? So that's why one of the biggest advantage of public administration is what, if you have seen the syllabus. So I mean more or less entire your polity and governance more or less is your public administration only. Means, for example, we will study that if in case polity is done for you, those who have not done polity, you will understand that later. Whoever for whom polity is done, normally remember we discuss your parliamentary system, presidential system, federalism, judiciary, president, governor, election commission, so many things we discuss there. More or less entire polity you will find it in your public administration also. So where, we'll come back to it again, but I am just showing you, so because the kind of topic came. So your paper 2 is your broadly what you call as Indian administration. Within that, look at this, union government, state government, means you will study your parliament, judiciary, executive. Executive means your president, vice president, council of ministers, cabinet committees, or governor, whatever, and obviously intra-government relation, plus a little extra points you have to study. That we'll discuss later, prime minister's office, all of them. Same way, legislative, remember you have in your polity a chapter called center-state relation, interstate relation, emergency, all of that, president's rule, article 352, 356, SR Mammai case, recall all of them, whoever polity is done. All of that is part of, and finance commission, that I think you will be recalling that, article 280, the very famous finance commission, we are implementing 15th finance commission report, 16th finance commission report, they have already established, which one, 16th finance commission headed by Arvind Panagaria, he is heading the 16th finance commission. All of that is your center-state relations, or in other words union government, state government, including your governor, chief minister, council of minister, chief secretary. We don't normally discuss in detail in your polity. Here chief secretary, PMO, cabinet secretary, all of that, a little additional topics. So whatever you study in polity here, there, of course election commission, all of them also will get added here. Fine. So that means we will come back to this topic, which is your lot of overlap with your GS2. Same way, obviously in GS3, if you have gone through the GS3 mains related syllabus, obviously you have what, economy related topic, you have disaster management, all of them will also have a overlap, because in economy, for example, again just for you to link it, see in your paper 1 you will have a chapter called as financial administration, which will deal with your, if you look at it itself you will understand monetary policy, fiscal policy. Recall, if economy is done, RBI comes up with monetary policy, budget is nothing but your fiscal policy, borrowings, budgets, types of budget, that in case, if I don't know if you have done, they have done it for your normal OGP economy or not, different types of budgeting are there. If you recall your mains related, you have a topic, outcome budgeting, zero based budgeting, like that, so many are there, line item budgeting, performance budgeting, like that, those are all easier part of this. Then remember you have the very famous deficits, fiscal deficit, revenue deficit, effective revenue deficit, and then something called as the landmark FRBM Act. We call fiscal responsibility, budget management, all of that will fall under your, and audits, CAG, can you recall that, comptroller, auditor general, all of that is your financial administration. Same way, here in paper 2, they have a related chapter called as financial management, in which also we will discuss, we will look at it, role of comptroller, CAG, role of controller general of account, CGA is one, and CAG. Role of finance ministry, parliamentary control of public expenditure, means what? For example, your parliamentary standing committees, finance committee is called as public accounts committee, committee on estimates, committee on public undertakings, all of that, which is your kind of polity, kind of economy, both. This is your overlap with your GS3 and your entire GS4, except few very theoretical, for example, what is honesty, if in case ethics is done, or else at least you will have a broader idea what is emotional intelligence, what is your integrity, except those few first half of your ethics where you have lot of theory. Other than that, almost your entire GS4 is your PubAd only. Because for simple logic, whatever they ask in your GS4 points is nothing but what? How are you going to manage your ethical behavior in public administration? You are getting into public administration only. When you are getting into civil services means what? That is nothing but your administration. There how are you going to handle? So obviously it will have lot of advantage. That doesn't mean that whatever you have studied in public administration can I use everything in general studies. It's not like that. Means, let's say for example when you study public administration as an option, of course there are a lot of thinkers. So sir, can I use those thinkers name in GS? That is not allowed. What you have to use? You have to use the idea, you have to use the point, but what you should not refer? You should not refer the thinker. Because simple difference you have to understand, when you write your optional related answers, obviously respective optional related faculty means whatever degree college, your PG or UG, whatever Delhi colleges, whatever you call it as, those professors only will come and correct your optional related papers. Like for example, when you write your sociology as an optional, obviously sociology related professors, assistant professor, associate professor, they will come and correct. So you, same way your public administration also, you use your thinker's name, it's obviously fine because they know about it. But when you write GS related answers, you cannot refer to which one? Thinkers just like that. For example, in PubLab you have very famous thinkers like Woodrow Wilson, Max Weber, like that if you have heard. But those names you cannot use directly in your GS2 or GS3 or GS4. You can use their idea. Getting an idea? I think you understood the point. So when you write your GS related answer, write it like a layman. Layman means what? Anybody who reads it should understand. But when you write in your optional, you can use what? You have to, not you can, you have to use technical words, what they call as, remember, jargons. You have to use those keywords because those people will be evaluating. Just as an idea, but the content part, idea part will help you a lot. This is one. Of course, another one is what? In general, you will have a better understanding. Deeper understanding of the issues, which will help you in your writing very good answers. As I told, for example, just to get an idea, let's say for example, you have, what do you call as this, in your ethics, you have these case studies, 6 case studies they give normally, 20 into 6, 120 marks you will have. Sometimes one case study will be for 25 marks, so that you will have 125 marks. Not lot of the times, each and every case study is what? Some or other ethical dilemma they will put. For example, so your district administration of a particular district where you have what you call this the narcotics problem, or you are working, you are the head of the organization, and you have one colleague who is very efficient in his work, and you are working with him closely, or he in a major project or something like that, but for some or other reason there was a sexual harassment charge against him. Now if you go if you go ahead with the complaint, so obviously you have to keep him aside, but he is very good in his work. Now how will you handle the issue? Something like that. These are the major issues. I am just telling you as an example. we are not discussing ethics here. In all those case studies, you can apply the concepts of your public administration. Like for example, you have a concept called as team building, you have a concept called as coordination, you have a concept called as what is the role of a leader, how should the leader of an organization behave, how should he get the work done from his employees. Let's say for example, if employees keep fighting between themselves, means what? They don't have a team concept, they don't have a harmony concept. How will any organization succeed? You take a simple, let's say you take a cricket team. If the 11 cricket players, if they don't have the harmony between themselves, how will the team win? It's as simple as that. You can apply it to any organization. And government is also an organization. District administration is also an organization. Imagine, let's say for example, you have something like COVID. Obviously district administration has to lead, or DC has to lead. Let's say what if DC doesn't have the leadership capability? That's why there is a very famous statement we tell in Indian administration or district administration that not all DC are the same. See, you might have cleared the same exam, you might have got into the same position, but not all DCs are the same. The reason is what? Because it depends on their personality, it depends on their leadership skill. You might know the same content, you might know the same definition, that is enough to make you clear the exam. But in reality, what matters? In real district administration, obviously what will matter? Your personality will matter. Are you able to get the work done from your employees or whoever is working under you? Are you able to make sure that they all work as a team? They have so many differences, but they should keep those differences aside. And if you are not able to lead, how will they work under you? But all those will come under a concept. We'll have, like for example, there are different types of leadership skill. For example, there is something called as transactional leadership. Transaction means what? Look at the word transaction. What is transaction? Like you go to a hotel, you pay them money. What will they do? They'll offer you whatever you ask for. That's a transaction. You pay, you get something. But that kind of leadership will not give you very good result. Means what? Let's say you are the head of the organization. You are running a company. You are treating your employees as if you work, I'll give you salary. You don't work, I'll remove you. So that is called as transactional. Simple, I am just making you simple, we will discuss in detail. But that will not help you in leading an organization. Now what they have come up with new concept is transformational leadership. Look at the word transformation. What do you mean by that? You should encourage your employees, because so many people will have so many challenges. For example, let's say you take student itself. For example, if your faculty behaves like you come back with your answer, I'll evaluate, I'll give you mark, you go away. If you do that, it's not so easy. So transformation means what then? They should make you realize your potential. You may be having self-confidence issues. They should make you realize that you have to keep all your other issues aside. Sir, I am from normal rural background. So I am just telling you as an example. Sir, I am not so. You will have that. I mean, you ask yourself. So many will be going through those internal issues, like psychologically. So because ultimately this exam is a mind game. Same way, even for your employees also. You should make them realize their potential. You should encourage them. You should make them fail. What do you call this? Even if they fail, you should not follow hire and fire approach. Hire and fire means what? Hire and fire means, okay, you did something wrong, you're fired, you go away. If you follow that, how will the morale of the organization be maintained? If you treat one of the employees like that, he committed some mistake, but he had worked very hard in the past, but he committed one mistake, you threw him out of the organization. What will other employees think? Or he has put a lot of effort, but you are not encouraging him, you are not giving him any incentive. Then what will others feel? Obviously, what will others feel? Okay, fine, that means even if I put the effort here, even if I don't put the effort here, it doesn't matter. Then why will I put the effort? Then if they don't put the effort, how will you take the organization forward? So like that, so many are there. This is what you call as types of, all this you can make use of in your ethics answers also. Like when you have your case studies especially. Not only case studies, actually a lot of your normal also. In addition to that, there are so many other things. For example, in your ethics also, if you go and look at it, they'll ask questions about your right to information, they'll ask questions about participatory democracy, they'll ask questions about what you call this role of, importance of participation of citizens in governance, they'll ask a question on good governance, Surajya, Ramrajya, like that. So transparency, accountability, every now and then you'll have the questions. All of that is nothing but your public administration. Again, you cannot use technical words there. You can use the idea, you can use the point. That's what they have told, and of course so many other examples. Same way you can reverse it also. Reverse means what? Whatever things you study in your GS, same examples or same facts you can use in your optional also. For example, whatever daily, day in, day out, whatever Hindu you study, that current affairs only you have to add in your public administration also. That because normally students have the doubt. So should we study separately for public administration related current affairs? There is no separate current affairs. Whatever you normally study in your, what do you call this, day in, day out, whatever the Hindu, Indian Express you study, whatever current affairs notes you make there, same facts only, same examples only, you have to use it where? You have to use it in your public administration also. But you have to link it. How should I link it? That we'll discuss later, that you will get to know over a period of time. In other words, based on the respective chapters. Yeah, next another one. Okay, so obviously these are obvious things. They will help you in getting a very good understanding, broad perspective about the government in general, help you in building your opinions, gives an edge in the personality test also, like how I told you in case studies, same way. So fine, so that's another aspect. And now normally students have these doubts. Sir, I am from, as I told, I am from so and so background, will public administration suit me? So that's a normal questions that students will have. So obviously remember, very few people will do BA or MA in public administration and opt public administration as an optional, because in graduation those are not very famous ones. Fine, so people from any background obviously can choose public administration. In fact, most of, even we are, I am also from engineering background, and obviously so many other students, lot of them will, even if you look at your most of those toppers in public administration also, most of them are from what? Either BA background or engineering. Medical people taking public administration, relatively less chances, but yeah, that also are there, because even last year we had few students, I think 2 or 3 students, so they are from medical background. One was from, I think, BDS, dental background, others from MBBS background, but they also had chosen public administration as an option. So your background, graduation will not matter, unless one challenge I will tell, one challenge, or you can say warning. Sir, I am from absolutely Kannada background, means almost till my 12th or till my even graduation also. I don't know if you can you do graduation. I think you can do that. So till my BA I have studied in Kannada. Now directly can I write it in public administration? I mean English and then can I choose public administration? Challenging, very challenging. Public administration or PSIR or sociology or something like let's say psychology, philosophy or anthropology for that matter. I am purely from Kannada background. Now I want to write exam in English. Can I choose these optionals? Very, very challenging practically, because very basic hold on English will not work. You should have a little very good hold, at least good hold on optional. I mean good hold on English, or else expressing your opinion will get difficult. I think, did I convey the point? Did you understand or not? Sir, but as I was, I started my education in Kannada background, let's say for example till 5th or 6th, but then I have from the last 10-15 years I am studying English, and most importantly psychologically, subconsciously you should feel that I have a hold on the language, English I am telling, then this will work. Subconsciously if you have a doubt that sir I don't have actually confidence in English, what should I do? Don't even think twice. What is your optional? Obviously what is your optional then? Kannada literature is the optional. If in case you are that kind of psychology, if you have subconsciously, because I should not just convince you to take public administration, that should not be done. That is the only one. Other than that, sir, I am from BA background, I am from BBM, I am from BCA, or I am from engineering is like engineers can choose any optional. Medical also they can do, because that is how their 4-year study will be there. They can choose anything and everything, even law also they can choose. I'm just telling you for a matter. But, and sir, I am from medical background. Normally, even if you asked me directly only, I will tell you, unless you are not very confident about your medicine optional, first priority give it for anthropology. Medical background I am telling, MBBS, BDS people. Other than that, sir, I am not very interested in this technical biology, I mean what do you call this, those kind of anthropology related optional, then you can go ahead. That's what, as I told last year few students we had. Even for them also I told the same. Go and first take anthropology as an optional. If in case you are not confident, you can come back here. You leave out these three. Sir, I am from law background, absolutely this will suit. And anybody else, as I told, BA, BSc, BCom, BBM, engineering, anything else, absolutely is fine. Fine? Okay, so as that's what they have told. Most of the toppers are from either engineering or medicine or obviously other related, what do you call this, graduation backgrounds. And in general, what are the challenges, which by now you would have heard also. The in general challenges are not, first major challenge is what? Subject is a little dynamic. Sir, first of all, what do you mean by dynamic? Dynamic means what? Some optionals are there which are more, what do you call this, technical, which are more static. Like for example, you take your engineering like mechanical, civil or physics or biology or botany, something like that. Most of it is what? Most of it is theory. There is no current affairs updates or there is no current affairs improvements. Whatever you have it, whatever you study, there is no interpretation also. There is no analysis also. You just have to by heart, get it, write it here. That's the advantage of your technical subjects. Fine, even to an extent anthro also, but now people are telling it's a little different now, but that you have to talk to anthropology guys. I can't comment on that. Which options are you studying? As I told, I think you got the point. Engineering related, medical, even I think LLB is not like that probably. Your botany, zoology, physics, chemistry, these kind of subjects are your static. To an extent, Kannada literature also, because the reason is what? There is nothing like interpretation or there is nothing like analysis, or they will have the critics, that's a different issue. So whatever you study in Hindu, no Hindu, Kannada literature, Hindu, no link. That's a challenge also. Whatever you study in your current affairs, entire GS, you in no way you can use it in your optional. If you take Kannada, even to an extent, anthro is also like that. But they also have an advantage. The advantage is what? You study, you by heart, you write it. Also, when did you come? Okay, fine. Yeah, so that's your static related optionals advantage. I think you got the point right. Advantage is you just have a good notes, by heart it, you put it here. But the challenge is what? You have no absolutely overlap with your GS. You cannot use anything that you study in your technical subjects in your GS. And syllabus normally will be relatively high. I mean, what do you call this? Bulky. Now here when you say dynamic, by now you would have understood. Dynamic means what? A little interpretation will always be there. Sir, what do you mean by interpretation? Like how if in case polity classes is done for you, like same way like how you have your polity. Means what? Supreme Court has given a judgment, critically analyze. So you can have some advantages or some positives of it, some negatives of it. Recently Bihar election, remember election commission issue in Bihar. So do you think whatever the initiative that they have taken, what are the advantages of it? Why election commission is doing it? What are the challenges? Like that, for example, there will be a thinker, there will be a lot of advantages of the thinkers, but there will be a lot of criticisms also. Or they will ask you question, I am just telling you broader ones. Is the ideas of that particular thinker relevant even today? How will you tell? It might be relevant, it might not be also. So you have to take those opinions. Same way, whatever current affairs you study day in, day out, one or other way, everything you can link it to your public administration. Because syllabus is so, what do you call it, so broad, not vast to study, but broad. More or less everything, whatever you study, you can use it there. So that's what you call as dynamic. Dynamic means, again, just too simple, you cannot just by heart and then copy and then put the same thing here. You can, 60 to 70% you can, but 1/3 it has to be your analysis, your opinion, and you have to link some current affairs, you have to link, for example, paper 1 to paper 2, paper 2 to paper 1, that understanding you need. That's why we keep telling in public administration that any answer that you write, for example, remember I showed you that pattern, question number 1, question number 2, question number 3, like that. Any question, either in paper 1 or paper 2 you write, you should write it like a public administration answer. Sir, what do you mean by public administration? As means, let's say for example, chapter 1 of your paper 1 is your introduction chapter. There you will have some topics. When you write an answer there, you should not write it just as an paper 1, chapter 1 answer. So you should bring points from where then? You should bring points from chapter 6 also. You should bring points from chapter 8. Or you should bring points from your paper 2, chapter 7. And then you should link it here. In other words, you should have what? Overall understanding of the optional. Even the same is in your polity also, the same is in your economy also, the same is wherever you have interpretation, that's a challenge. But that's the advantage also. The advantage is what? Let's say for example in your technical subjects, you know, you don't know, that's it. If you know the topic, you can write. If you don't know, you cannot interpret, you cannot analyze. But here the advantage is what? Every question you will know. Because the reason is what? Questions will be in such a way that you will have an idea. Even if you have 2 to 3 points, you can easily generate 1.5 to 2 sides answer, provided you have a overall understanding of the optional. 12 chapters of your paper 1, 14 chapters of your paper 2, broadly if you have an overall idea of everything, any question you can attempt. That's an advantage, that's a challenge also. Same way is your technical also, that's an advantage, that's a challenge there. So then sir, will it work for me then? Then as I told, it depends on, you should also ask, you should know your strengths and weakness. Let's say you are a person of the kind of nature or personality that sir, for me thinking, analysis, no. You give me, exactly you tell me what to by heart, what to write. That is how I work. That means you have to choose anthropology. Sir, I cannot say that this thinker said so and so, this opinion is valid now or not. Don't ask me question. Tell me, give me 5-page note, tell me I should by heart this, I should write this diagram, I should go copy paste this, you have to choose. Or if you are from engineer, that kind of options you have to choose. Sir, you are asking me my opinion, then sir, I can't, I don't have my, if you have that kind of a challenge or that kind of personality, then it becomes a little challenging. So I am just openly telling you so that you get an idea about everything. Fine? Yeah, so that's why. And in other words, obviously, that will always be there. Other challenges are fine. So I have broadly this is the biggest challenge and biggest advantage that you have. Understood? Fine. So then, sir, what about the scores? How are the scores? Obviously, even if you go from background, I mean, anywhere you can go, right from 2013. So why 2013? I think you know that because of the new syllabus era, right from there. So that time, 2013, 2014, 15, almost till 2015, normally the highest scores in optionals used to be 250. 260 maximum is that. Then gradually another, like say from 2015-16 I think till 2020, 2022 they used to give you 300, 320, 330, 340 also they used to give. In all the options I am telling, this is not only in PubAd. So till 2015, that's why you will have scores of 230, 240, 250s only. Look at in 2016, from 2016 they started to give so many high marks. So people have scored even 330s also. Fine, I'll show you in few answers also you will understand. So, and then 2017 you had 320, 2018 you had 333, 2019 you had rank from public administration, you had scored 293, but you also had someone else scoring 302, Nupur Goyal. Then you had 2020 286, yeah, then I think you can go through that 288, 285, 2014 if you have seen this year, 284, 282. So 2024, last year 286, 276 like that. This is your very good scores. Sir, about 300, as I told, in the last 2-3 years, above 300 is getting difficult. Unless those people in top 10, top 20, though they only are scoring 300 plus. That too, they are not giving you 330, 340. I think I've forgotten. I don't know how much did Shakti Zube score. Have you gone through it? I think 300. How much is her score? But she has scored, I think, 300 plus. Okay, she has not scored 300. Okay, fine, maybe. I'm not sure, but I just normally these top 20 people only will score 300 plus. But if you are getting 280s or 290s in your optional, assume even if you have whatever other serious aspirant has scored in GS, the same way you score also, you are already in top 50, provided your personality test goes well. You just have to score 280 and 290 in your optional, you are automatically in top 50 or top 100. Because normally if you score to this extent in your optional, more or less you will score that level in your GS also. Again, personality test nobody can guarantee. Essay nobody can guarantee now. If you have gone through essay scores, it is ranging from 80 to 140. Means what is the range? 50, 60 marks is the range. So that means you can end up scoring in 90s also, you can end up scoring in 130 also. So one essay can make or break your entire mains. Personality test also same. It can range from 130 or 135 to 200 to 210 also. Means almost 60, 70 marks range. So that you cannot determine. It's very, very subjective. So that all depends, but in general I am telling you. So obviously there are people who have scored 280s, 290s every single year. 300 plus is a challenge, I agree. Not only for this. Always remember, any humanity related optional means what? 3-4 optionals most famously, public administration, PSIR, sociology, maybe to an extent psychology, philosophy, these you have to add. Anthropology you can keep out because that's a more of scientific technical subjects. These 4-5 optionals getting 300 plus is not so easy. PSIR is in there, in the last 4-5 years, it's, obviously, relatively it is scoring well, but 300 plus is not so easy, even there. PSIR is more dynamic. Compared to what you have here, it's more dynamic in PSIR. More interpretation, because you have so many thinkers, more thinkers compared to public administration. This is the overall brief. So scores wise, you always have people. So normally this kind of rumor or myth, whatever will be going on, that its scoring is a little difficult in public administration. Not that way. 250 to 260 easily you can score. You complete the paper and come address the demand of the question. 250 to 60, whichever is the average, you can easily score. So I should get above 20, means I should end up in 280s and 290s. As I told, you should have hold on the entire optional. Then only you will get 280s or 290s. Fine, this is course wise. So no need to think much about the score aspect. Then comes your, sir, on the which parameters. I think by now I have already summed up. First one is what? At least you should have a basic interest in the subject, aptitude. Sir, how should I know whether I have the interest or not? One, by now, for example, if in case you are from 2025 batches or even for 2026, I think 1 or 2 batches have already done polity. If in case polity is done, if in case economy is done, and if you are interested in those kind of topics, like this election commission, parliament, judiciary, sort of recently Supreme Court is looking into, let's say for example, the CAA issue, Supreme Court is looking into Article 142 issue. Remember last 1 or 2 months you had Governor of Tamil Nadu issue. One from last 1 week Vice President issue is going. If in case you are more interested in those kind of topics, that means you have that aptitude in public administration as an optional. Sir, I am very bored of this election commission, all those things. For me, I am more interested in something like space, those kind of one. Because maybe your graduation might be like that. Then it becomes challenging for you in option. This option I am telling. Then you are from which background then? Your mind or your personality is more oriented towards scientific, technical things. That means anthropology, botany, zoology, physics, chemistry, that background you are. If you are from these kind of issues, if you have an interest, that means obviously you are in this background. Are getting an idea, right? That's the interest. Aptitude you should have, some kind of orientation. Then obviously trend, I think that I have already showed you. Syllabus is very consistent. That's the biggest advantage of PUBAD also. Means relatively syllabus is less. But number of classes, obviously we still have to do 100 classes, means around 300 hours. The reason is you should get a very good hold, because most of you, obviously whoever will be opting would not have studied public administration in your graduation. Obviously that's why 100 classes you have to take. Though compared to, let's say, as I told, technical subjects or compared to PSIR, relatively syllabus is concise. Even compared to sociology, even compared to an extent anthropology also, syllabus is concise. Even compared to Kannada also. Kannada also, syllabus is relatively huge. Though advantage, as I told, whatever, that's a different thing. There is no analysis or something. And I think, as I told already, overlap with GS and material guidance. I mean, absolutely so many easy materials you have, you can easily go through that. These are in general parameters on which, for PABAD also or in any other option also, this is the parameters, and I have already summed it up. Yeah, these are other aspects what they are telling, not very important ones, but yeah, so it will help you work in the, right reason for choosing the optional. It means if you have the interest in the optional, then what will happen? See, for simple reason, see, you are starting your optional now. Means August, let's say I will be studying in the August first week. At least 4 to 5 months, optional classes will only go ahead. Means you can assume August, September, October, November. By December end, is our target, because 100 classes we have to take. There is no doubt about it. So obviously it will go till December, mid-December end. And then when are you going to write your optional? Next 2026 mains you are going to write your optional exam. Yeah, fortunately if everything goes well and if you are prepared well, 2026 itself you will get in. But even if you get in, let's say for example, if you end up what do you call this, if you end up getting IRS or IAAS or IAS, obviously you have to write it again. Means 2027 mains also you have to write. Means at least 1.5 to 2 years you have to stay with the optional. If in case you don't have any interest in the optional, what will happen then? If you don't have the interest in the optional, how will you continue with it for 2 or 3 years? So at least you should have a basic orientation towards it is the point. That's what you call it as. Will help you, will work in difficult times, or you will not feel difficulty even when you put in effort. It will help you explore, know, understand. Because if you have a more aptitude, you will have a little curiosity also. Okay, let me understand how is it working. Let's say for example, district administration, law and order, so many things are there. What are the challenges they face? You should have a curiosity. So that will come only if you have basic orientation. Yeah, that's what a lot of students face a challenge. Like for example, just to give it as an example, I am telling. A lot of students, let's say for example, they take Kannada optional, because most of you, I am assuming, will be from Karnataka or Kannada background, will take Kannada optional based on which parameter. Sir, nan Kannada Abhimani. Kannada Abhimana is different. Kannada optional in UPSC is different. Abhimana is Abhimana. So I am, sir, I'll give my blood for it. That's all different. Those emotions will not work. So that is different. Optional taking is different, because writing, because most of you, if in case you are from science background, you would have left your Kannada in your 10th itself. 11th and 12th you would have studied just for the exam, because you would have mostly focused on PCMB or PCMC or PCME, something like that. So then how will you write Kannada then? In your, most of you in your Kannada, what do you call, graduation, you would not even have written Kannada. So Kannada Abhimana is different, Kannada optional is different. So what they will do, they will take 1 month down the line they realize, or 2 months down the line they realize, I am understanding the subject, but I am not able to write, because you have already left it out almost 5-6 years back, you would have written it to that extent. So that kind of thing, or let's say a lot of people, sir, I am from BA background, BCom background, people are telling anthropology is working. How will you take anthropology if you are from BA background or BCom background or BBM background? BSc is okay. Engineering you live, I told you engineers can take anything. You live engineer, there is a different category. So how will you take it from, I am from BA background, I will take anthropology, how will it work? Logically you think, you don't have that orientation itself. If you don't have the orientation, how will you go and study about biology there? It's mostly about human evolution. We have not studied anthropology, but you have a basic idea. It's about human evolution. How is it? How is the skull? How did the skull evolve? How did the bones evolve? How will you use it in your GS? And how will you, when you don't have an orientation, how will you use it there? I have done LLB. Can I take anthropology? Where is the link? Sir, but anthropology will work. Just because it is working or it is people are scoring 282 doesn't mean it will work for you, because you should have a basic orientation at least. I think you understood the point what I am trying to say. That's the point. Other than that, you can take anything. Yeah. These are all, I will go through it, syllabus, and we will discuss it later. Sir, another question which students will have is, sir, is the pattern changing now? Means, let's say for example, whatever the type of questions they were asking at least let's say 4-5 years back or 6-7 years back, are they asking the same way in PABAD now? More or less it's the same way, because always remember in any mains, GS1 to GS4, I am not including essay here, essay is a bit different because more subjectiveness, GS1 to GS4 and any optional you take, 2/3 of the questions will repeat every year. Every year it's the same. 2025 you will have your mains another let's say 1 month down the line. You take your GS2 paper of 2024 and you take GS2 paper of 2025 whenever it comes. 2/3 of the questions are from the same topics. Same way, public administration also, both paper 1 and paper 2, 2/3 of the questions will repeat. What is the reason for it? The reason is very simple. Syllabus is very, very huge. Our syllabus is very, very detailed. Because syllabus is detailed, what UPSC has to do then? They have to ask the questions only from that syllabus. So 2/3 will repeat. Every year you will have a question on Weber. I mean, if in case you have heard, every year you will have a question on Kautilya. Every year you will have a question on Mughal administration. Every year you will have a question on federalism, Supreme Court, President. Every year you will have, even in your PABAD also. Every year you will have a question on RBI. Every year you will have a question on what do you call as the center state relation, federalism, something like that. It's fixed. But they will not copy paste the question, they will change the demand a little bit. The same is in your GS also. Like for example, if you have gone through your GS2 related, mains related questions, more or less every year you will have a question on judicial activism. But they will not ask it the same way. 1 year they will link it to public literature, remember PIL, public interest litigation and judicial activism, 1 year they will ask like that. Another they will ask, do you think that activist role of judiciary is affecting the separation of power? Question is more or less the same, but the way they ask is a little changed. The same thing is here for your GS PABAD also. Getting an idea, right? So that will not change. But sometimes what they will do, as I told, 1/3 of the questions, they will keep it a little kind of surprising. They will make it more broad, they will make it sometimes random. Sometimes they will just ask a question about a thinker which we don't normally read in your optionals. Like that. But there are also tricks for it. I mean, trick in the sense how to handle that kind of questions also, we have strategies. We will discuss all those details later. So more or less you can assume pattern will not change for mains largely unless syllabus change. So because syllabus is same, pattern you will not have a drastic change. Here and there only small changes will be there. Clear? Yeah. Then let's talk about syllabus as a whole broadly. Paper 1 mostly is your theory part. Means what? They will not discuss about Indian administration in your paper 1. We will mostly discuss about your global thinkers. For example, first importantly, look at your paper 2, chapter 2. You will have thinkers like, if in case you are able to look at it, you will have names like Weber, you will have names like, for example, Mary Parker Foley, Elton Mayo, Chester Barnard, like that, so many are there. There are era of thinkers. If you have heard people like Woodrow Wilson, he is famously called as the father of public administration. He was also, if you have heard, he was also former American president. So he came up with the idea of that we should study public administration individually or separately, all those ones. That's why we call him as the famously father of public administration. There is also father of American public administration, also called as Frank Goodnow, like that. So many are there. That's all not necessary. We'll go into details later. So those thinkers will be studying most importantly. Chapter 1 or chapter 2, both chapter 1 and chapter 2 are the foundation, including chapter 3, but most importantly these two. This will take a lot of time, almost at least you can assume 20 to 20 classes minimum, sometimes 25 classes will be your first 2 chapters itself. If you combine chapter 3, it will take minimum 25 classes. They are the foundation, and whatever you study in your first 3 chapters, you have to use it in your entire public administration. Entire means what? Paper 1 entire, paper 2 entire, because they are the thinkers, they gave you the foundation. Those thoughts only are used globally. Understood? For example, let's say for example you have your Indian administration you take. So we follow a hierarchical structure. Hierarchy means what? Pyramid like one, means just for you to make it simple, you have, remember, group A officer, group B officer, group C officer, group D. Most of the, let's say if 100 people are working for government or any department you take, 70 to 80% or probably 90% you can take is which level? Group C, Group D level. some around 7 to 8 or 8 to 9% will be group B. So group A means what? 1%, maximum 2%. Even if you take Indian police, you take. Like remember, you have right from constable to head constable, ASI, SI, inspectors, DYSP, SP to IG, DIG, IG to commissioner, DGP, all of them. 80 to 80, not even 80, you can say almost 85% is your constable, head constable, SI. SI inspector, that level people are your 10 to 14, 10 to, you can literally say 13 to 14%. Only 1% is your DYSP and above. This is your hierarchy. So, sir, why are we following that structure? Because a person called as Weber had strongly talked about hierarchical structure of the organization. There is also other reason of colonial bureaucracy that I will not get it into now because that will become a little more technical. That is called as hierarchy. Hierarchy means, understand, right? Group A, B, C, D. That structure everywhere you go, anywhere you go in India, not only in India, anywhere across the world, everybody will follow that. And whose idea is that? That's a thinker called as Weber, Max Weber. He is famously called as father of bureaucracy. Across the world, he is called as father of bureaucracy. All of those ideas in detail we need to discuss. And then so many are there, human relations thinkers like that, so many people are there, that all will not get into that. So first 3 chapters is your core. Introduction means, I think the name itself will say, how did the concept of public administration start? For example, just to give you an idea, the administration as a practice has always evolved. What do you mean by that? For example, you take, remember in your ancient medieval, they will tell you about Mahajanapada, something like Ashoka, something like what Chandragupta Maurya, something, so many people they tell. Or you take Guptas, you take Mauryas, you take, or in Karnataka you take it as what? Because this Vijayanagara Empire, you take Chalukya Empire, you take Kadamba, Rashtrakuta, till your, anybody you take. If you have king or if you have any rule, that means what you will also have? You will also have people working for him. King will take a decision, Ashoka will take a decision, but who will implement it? Officers will implement it. That means bureaucracy has existed from whenever king concept has been there, even from then bureaucracy concept is there. But the point is what? Theories about bureaucracy were not there. For example, remember you might have heard people like Plato, Aristotle, Socrates, all of them. They all are not administration thinkers. Most of them are your political science thinkers. Political science thinkers means what? What should the king do? What should the state do? What do you mean by welfare state? What do you mean by laissez-faire state? Or whatever, so many. What should be the role of the states? What should be the relationship between state and citizens? What do you mean by the idea of rights? What do you mean by the idea of liberty? What do you mean by welfare? All of these ideas are, most of it are given by whom? Your Aristotle, Socrates, whatever. Those kind of theories only dominated for a long time. You did not have theories about what separately? Theories on administration were not there. Theories on administration means what? Let's say imagine you take, what do you call this, someone like Akbar or someone like Ashoka. Imagine if you have a pan-India empire. Pan-India means like entire India you are administering. How many officers will be working for you? Akbar will be sitting somewhere in Delhi. Ashoka will be sitting somewhere in, let's say, I think Bihar or somewhere. Let's say he has his empire here. How will you administer? Today you have a lot of technology. How will you administer 2000 years back? That means you should have some principles. Means what? How the leader should control the bureaucrats. How you should get work from them. What if they involve in corruption? How will you manage it? How will you get to know first of all? So, but these ideas were not discussed in detail for a very, very long time. So that's why public administration as a subject, public administration as a study is very new. That's what you call it as, who started, as I told, who is the father of public administration? Woodrow Wilson. Woodrow Wilson came up with the idea that, he had a very famous statement, that it is very easy to frame a constitution, but it is very difficult to implement it. So according to him, for a long time we have focused on framing the constitution, theories of the state. What we are not focused on? How to implement it. Implementation is nothing but your what? Administration, public administration. Public administration, first of all, because I mean, just to give an idea, we all discuss, we'll discuss in detail. Administration means what? Administration means, in simple terms, you are taking a decision and you have to implement it. And the entire organization means what? what do you call this, people, set of people, you have to work together. That is administration. Take a decision, implement it using a team and using resources, material resources, human resources, financial resources, money, everything. Then what do you mean by administration is common? Common means what? Even in Infosys you have administration, Reliance you have administration, even in Insights you have administration, even in Government of India also we have administration. Then what do you mean by public administration? Yeah, what is how administration works in government setup is public administration. If you are talking about administration in private sector, then what is it? Corporate administration or private administration. Like in Insights what you have is private sector administration. Whatever you have it in, whatever you, anything you take, right, from Google to Facebook to Reliance to whatever you have, that is private. What you study here is what? From public perspective, government perspective. That's the optional. At the core, that is your optional. That's why public administration is nothing but your civil service, bureaucracy. How did the concept evolve? What are the various theories? What is their role? How should they work with political, what do you call this, political masters? What do you mean by, remember in bureaucracy you have major values like neutrality, anonymity, what do you call this, objectivity, like all of that we'll discuss in detail. Understood? And then you have behavior thinkers. Behavior means what? For example, there's a very famous thinker, if you have heard, I don't know, you might have studied in your graduations also, there's a very famous thinker called as Abraham Maslow. Abraham Maslow had come up with a very famous motivation theory. We call it as theory of needs or need hierarchy. Means what he tells, there is in the beginning some needs called as physiological need. Physiological need means what? Every human being wants to first focus on their what? Roti, kapda, makan, means food, shelter, clothing, something like that. First you have to meet that needs of an individual. If an individual is so poor that he is not even able to have 3 meals a day, how will you talk to him about there is something called as nirvana, you focus on your passion. He is not having 2 meals a day, you are telling him realize your potential, to focus on nirvana. What will you do using his nirvana? For him what do you need? You should take care of him, of his basic needs, physiological need. And what Maslow says, once you fulfill that need, means everything is set, then he will talk about what? Then he will talk about his social need. Social means what? Okay, I have everything, I have a basic housing, I have basic job I have, but I need job security now. And I want some respect in society. People should recognize me. And I want to be in very good position. That need, not that kind of need will come. Then even when you get that kind of need, then he says you will, at one stage, then another stage you will start feeling, I have position now, but I need to achieve something. Means you are an IAS officer. That means what? Already social need is met. IAS means what? Anywhere you go in India, you just tell them IAS, you just tell them IPS. It's done. Whatever the treatment you will get it. But over a period of 5 years down the line, how many times will you tell I am IAS, I am IAS? Over a time what will you feel? I need to achieve something. Okay, I should be the best DC. Or I should be like, this initiative was done by me. I came up with this idea. You need that achievement. That I handled COVID better in my district. Whatever in the district that I was, there was a very what do you call it, Naxalism problem was there. Drug trafficking problem was there. Or child marriage was very rampant, or what do you call this, prevalent. Female feticide was very high. I controlled it. I brought that initiative. So that means what will add? You will get that achievement. Then he says, Abraham Maslow says, that once you achieve all these things, then you will start realizing self-actualization. Means what? Forget about what others think. Forget about others should praise me, others should recognize work. What you will start feeling at one stage? I should just enjoy my work. I like painting, I should just paint. I like writing a book, I should just write. Or I just like a particular sport, I should just involve in that. Or I am just very interested in spirituality or whatever religion or something like that. I should just, what do you call this, involve in that. What will society think? What will my parents think? What will my relatives think? I am not worried about it. That stage is what? Self-actualization, where you are not expecting anything, you are only concerned about your what? Passion, creativity, and you are just enjoying the work. You cannot directly reach self-actualization. If you directly reach self-actualization, exam, all these things will not work. Because if you want your exam to work, then what do you need? You need that urge that I should become IAS. I need that respect from my family, from my society, from my friends, from my relatives. And if I get into that, normally if most of the middle class will think bad, because if I become IAS, my parents will also get respect. So my relatives will treat my parents better. My family will get to a better position. Remember, most of the common middle class people will have this kind of what do you call this aspiration or dream. That is what? That's your social need. Or few other people will be there, like let's say from very poor background. What will they think? Forget about IAS. First, let me get into either FD or SDA. That's fine for me, because what I need a job. My father is very poor. I have my sisters to take. Remember those kind. I mean, even you might be from that background. Also depends, depending on your background. If you are from that background, your need is physiological need is dominating in your mind. Sir, my family is basic. Everything is set. We are not like struggling for 2 meals a day. So my father is just earning 1,000 rupee or like, very that kind of background. I am not. I am basic. Everything is set. We are not rich, but basic. That means you are focusing on social need. Security need. Fine. Let's say for example, Ambani's sons, Ambani's daughters. Do you think they'll come and write your civil service exam? Why will they write? You logically think. They don't have the need itself. For them, what is it? Whatever the legacy that parents have left, we need to carry that. Achievement. Directly they are in achievement. Social recognition. Some people are there which are beyond that. Then, like for example, remember during Kumbh Mela, one person had become famous. Some IIT Baba or something, he was famous. Where he has he's already reached which stage? Self-actualization, because he has crossed means he is not worried about all these things. So directly he is in self-actualization need. There are so many people like that, you might have seen. People like, for example, just 1 week or 2 weeks back, there was a famous, I forgot his name. So he was telling that me and Sundar Pichai were classmates in IIT. I don't know if I forgot the name, if you follow that. There was an IIT person, him and Sundar Pichai, the Google CEO, Google head, both were batchmates in their IIT Kharagpur, I think. Now Sundar Pichai followed typical career background and he has went on to become the Google head, global head. I mean, you all know that. This person, after a few years, he realized whatever, he became interested in spirituality, religion. He is a monk now. Now he focused on self-actualization need. Sundar Pichai is still in what? That kind of social recognition, that need. So that means what? Not necessary that everybody will reach self-actualization need. And it's not mandatory also. It's not like, sir, I have crossed this. Okay, let me focus on next. Let me focus on next. Not necessary. Understood? I'm just briefing you. That we'll discuss in your look at it. You have a motivation theory. Leadership theory, I have already briefed you. Remember, transactional leadership, transformational, those are all leadership theory. They're still in detail. I'm just telling you briefly. We can't discuss everything in detail. Then you'll have, there's something called as systems theory. There's something called as contingency theory, like that. In simple terms, I am not just making you technical. What do you mean by systems theory? Let's say, for example, health ministry came up with what do you call this famous Ayushman Bharat Yojana, let's say, where they are focusing on good health, universal health coverage kind of concept. But for Ayushman Bharat to work properly, let's say they are implementing that program very well, let's assume that. But Swachh Bharat Abhiyan is not implemented properly. Means what? What you don't have? People don't even have toilets. Or let's say for example, other one, Jal Jeevan mission you have, means clear drinking water, I mean water to every household. That is not implemented properly. Or midday meals is not implemented properly. When you don't have midday meals implemented properly, when you have so many other things not implemented properly, how will you ensure that people will have good health? So that means what? Good health doesn't depend only on health ministry. It will also depend on whom? It will also depend on Swachh Bharat Abhiyan. It will also depend on what do you call this midday meals. It will also depend on Jal Jeevan mission. It will also depend on so many things. So that is simple terms idea of your systems theory. So when you say systems theory means what? System means in every organization or any, if you take government of India, you will have so many ministry, you will have so many department. Everybody has to work together. You take any private sector company, you will have a recruitment HR team, there human resource team, you will have a marketing team, you will have a sales team, you will have technical team, you will have manufacturing team. Let's say every team is working well, but HR team is not working well. If HR team is not working well, how will you recruit the best people? How will, if they are not paying salaries properly, how do you think employees will work? Let's say HR team, everything is working well, marketing team is not working. If you don't market your product, how will people buy? Or every other team is working, manufacturing team itself is not working. How will you have the good product then? That is in simple terms, your systems theory. Systems theory means you got the point, right? Every organization will have multiple sub-departments. Technically they call it subsystems. And every subsystem will be interlinked with other system. If one system doesn't work well, it will also have an impact on other system. And same way, system will be impacted by environment. Environment means what? Let's say you take Government of India. There is the responsibility of Government of India also to ensure energy security. Energy security means what? Let's say your petrol, diesel, say whatever. Let's say for example, there is some issue in Middle East. Because we almost what 70 to 80% of our crude oil is literally what imported from Middle East. If something happens in Middle East, what is affected? Your energy security here will also be affected, because how will you have crude oil? Let's say you had COVID. If you have COVID, imagine entire India got affected. Means what? You will have environmental factors which are not directly under your control, which will also have an impact on you. That is external factors which are not under our control directly, but will also be affected. Let's say in very simple examples, remember you have in your childhood, you would have come across this, or maybe you were not in that childhood also, because you are a little more young. Nokia phones, you remember. Where are your Nokia phones now? Because the reason is what? They were dominating literally once the mobile means Nokia, almost it was like that. Because they failed in adapting quickly to the technological change, in a span of 2-3 years, Samsung and so many other people took over Motorola in the beginning stages. Later, Apple is a different aspect. So because they delayed, they did not take the environmental factors seriously, someone else captured the market. And you remember you had that very famous camera company called as Kodak. So then they delayed a little bit to adjust to digitization. Means they were in the era of reels. Remember that? What do you call as this? I think you know that if you have heard that in movies, all those things you might have shown. That the era was dominated by Kodak. Later you had digitization. Now what you have digital, typically your mobile kind of a ones. Digital cameras, Sony introduced that. They delayed it by 4 to 5 years, not even 4 to 5 years, I think 2-3 years. Sony captured the market. The entire Kodak, which dominated camera market for almost 100 years, literally vanished. Now they are trying to come back, but market is not allowing it. That's nothing but technically whatever we discuss now is what? Impact of the environmental factors on an organization. You have to, any organization has to be very quick to adapt to the changes. If you are very late, time will not allow you. That's in simple terms systems theory. There is also another one called as contingency theory, that all we will not discuss now, we will come back to that later. Then this is your typical your polity. Accountability and control, if you have heard technically points like right to information, citizens charter, social audit, role of CAG, all of that we will discuss under your accountability, parliamentary standing committees. That's nothing but your accountability and control chapter. Remember parliamentary system, the foundation is, we keep telling, collective responsibility, article 75. In other words, is your accountability and control. Same way we will have about administrative law. Administrative law means, again, if in case polity is done, we would have discussed a concept called as delegated legislation. We would have discussed a concept called as tribunal. Can you recall tribunal? Article 323A, 323B, Central Administrative Tribunal, State Administrative Tribunal, National Green Tribunal. The tribunal concept is here, look at it, Administrative Tribunal, delegated legislation. And then you have Dicey. Recall Dicey? Professor A.V. Dicey gave the concept of, which concept? Rule of law. That's your Dicey on administrative law. If in case polity is done, you will recall, or else we will discuss, no need to worry. And these two another important chapters, comparative development. What do you mean by that in simple terms? Whatever has happened in other countries, which will also have an impact on us. What do you mean by that? Let's say for example, you have your idea of GST. GST, 101st Constitutional Amendment 2016. It was not our idea. GST was first already implemented in countries like Canada, Australia, federalism countries. So we realized that it is working well there. Hence what we did? What we did? We took the idea and we implemented it here. Remember who is the Bangladesh president as of now? Who is handling it? Muhammad Yunus. Now if you know, Muhammad Yunus is famous for what? Grameen Bank idea. He is a Nobel Prize, economist Nobel Prize, if you have heard. His idea of Grameen Bank. In Bangladesh, he came up with that idea. That's nothing but in India, SHG Microfinance Institution. So that's nothing but your comparative. Comparative means what then? We have to also study about what is working in other countries. And if something has worked well there, what you can do? You can use it here also. Or very simple, you take your entire Indian constitution. Indian constitution, remember your preamble, equality, liberty, fraternity. Which country we borrowed it from? France. The idea of equality, parliamentary system itself we borrowed from where? UK, federalism largely. US, fundamental rights, federalism, Canada, fundamental rights. US. Those are also idea of comparison. So we have, Indian constitution makers studied other countries. They felt that so and so things are working well in so and so countries. Hence what we did? We took that idea, we implemented in our country. Same way, in how does it work in administration, we need to understand. There is a very famous thinker, if you have heard, called as Fredericks. That we'll study about him. That will, mostly that is your comparative administration. Fine? And then same way is your development also. These two are interlinked chapters. Then personnel. Personnel means what? Personnel means employees of the organization. Means if any organization has to work well, right from their recruitment to appointment to training to their salary, what you call a service condition, everything has to be very well. If that is not well, then how will an organization work? That's called as personnel. That way, look at the word recruitment, training, career, position, classification, service condition, employer-employee relationship, performance appraisal. Have you heard? For example, in India, normally for a long time we have followed a concept called as confidential report, annual confidential report. Means what? Let's say you are working as an employee in the government, let's say you are a government employee. Every year your appraisal report will be written by your superior. This technically we call as annual confidential report. Confidential because it will not be revealed to anybody, only the superiors will take care of it. Now unfortunately what had happened in government, because superior is writing your report, what you have to take care of them? You should only make sure that you are in good relationship with your superior. Automatically what will happen? They will give you good rating. That's it. That's why there is a very famous criticism in Indian administration, that in Indian administration, every employee is a, what do you call this, excellent performer. Reason is what? Everybody will take care of their superior. Fine, automatically they will give you good rating. If everybody is working well, how is Indian administration not working well? If everybody is performing very good, very excellent, how is the administration not excellent then? So administration is not excellent. You are in good relationship with your superior. That's why you have got good rating. That's why they came up with a new concept now called as 360-degree appraisal. 360-degree means what? Not only your superior will write the report, your colleagues will also give their feedback. Your juniors will also give opinion on you. Or whoever you are interacting with, others also will give opinion on you. So then you cannot take care of only of your superior. You should work well with whom? Everybody. 360-degree appraisal. Those are all your performance appraisal. In India there is another famous criticism, if you have heard. We criticize in India, training is criticized as a paid holiday. I have heard that. They call it as paid holiday. Paid holiday means what? Name itself says, the word itself says everything. Means you are going for training, you are paid, you come back, you continue your work. You will just go meet your batchmates and you talk about, remember we were together in the training academy 6 months. That time we enjoyed a lot, we all were together. Now where are you posted now? You will only, that's the criticism. The reason is what? Because training, especially, I mean you live out all India services, that's a bit different. Other training I am telling, is not taken seriously in India, because assumption is theory, training is nothing but theory. All the work you learn where? All the work you learn your real on ground, on job, what they call it as. That's why they don't focus more on your technical, theoretical, academic training, which is in a way we agree, because it's more only theory there, but you cannot neglect that. That's why now they came up with multiple concepts of training. We'll discuss that. There's something called as mid-career training, because earlier they used to only focus on probationary training more. Probationary means what? When you clear the exam and when you get in, there they'll give you training. Almost at least, you live out IAS. IAS is obvious. They'll give you almost 2.5 years. You and IPS, all of them. We are not talking about them. Let's say you get in SI or something like that. First 1 year, they'll focus on you. Training. Let's say later you get promoted as what do you call this, inspect, no training, nothing. You just have to keep continuing. Mid-career training is neglected in India. Now that's why they are focusing on mid-career training. Means before any promotion you get, you should go get a training, because you are getting into some other position now. Like that, so many are there, that all we'll discuss later. That's your broadly personal administration. Then policy. There are different types of policies. I mean, how a policy is made, who will have an impact. For example, just to understand as an idea, you have your new education policy. Remember, that's a famous policy you had in the last 4-5 years. Now, yeah, theoretically, if you look at it, Ministry of Government of India has made the new education policy. But what is the guarantee that, what do you call as this, state governments will not have an impact on it? What is the guarantee that, what do you call as this, private sector experts will not have an impact on it? What is the guarantee that academicians, did you take the inputs of the professors or not? Means when you make new education policy, will the minister and the IAS officer, secretary there, will they just sit there and make the policy, or will they also take the input of university professors? Will they also take the inputs of state government chief ministers or bureaucrats in the state governments? Will they take the inputs of student associations? Will they take the inputs of private schools and colleges? Or will you make it on yourself? So depends. That theories, if you assume that only ministers and bureaucrats will make it, that's technically we call it the institutional model of public policy. If you are assuming that you have to take everybody's input and make it, then we call it as pluralistic theory or pluralistic model of policy making. Those are a lot of theories are there. That's your public policy, models of public policy, what you call it as. Then implementation, monitoring. Remember, you have heard a stage of policy formulation is one stage. Then comes policy implementation. Then comes policy monitoring. Then comes policy evaluation. Then comes policy feedback. Then comes policy reform. Like the different stages are there. That all we'll discuss under your public policy. Then you have, as I told, financial administration, I've already briefed. That's nothing but your, which one? Budget, monetary policy. Remember, in economy you study CRR, SLR. That will not discuss technical here, but that all part of your auditing, all of that, your budgets, everything here. Then how to improve, even in GS also we study. Remember, e-governance, MIS, management information system, all of them is your techniques of administrative improvement. So largely this is your paper 1. Fine. Then your, as I told, you have totally 12 chapters here. Section A 6 chapters, section B 6 chapters. Then paper 2 is nothing but what? Indian administration. This is more practical. Paper 1 is more theory. That's why look at it. First chapter is what? Evolution of Indian administration, which most importantly 3. Kautilya, that is Maurya related, Arthashastra. Recall that, and you might have heard that very famous, even in normally in GS also he kept telling Kautilya's famous statement, which one? That he has talked about, he has in Arthashastra almost you can say 300 BC, he has, in Arthashastra he has identified 40 types of corruption. Even your Prevention of Corruption Act 1989 identifies somewhere less than 30. And recall here that famous statement that civil servant or a bureaucrat is like a fish in water. You will never get to know how much water does a fish drink. That means you will never get to know how much money or how to what extent does a bureaucrat become corrupt. It's very difficult to identify. This we are told. Kautilya had told almost 2400-500 years back in Arthashastra, which is relevant even today. Like that, so many are there. Then you have Mughals, maybe in your ancient medieval you would have studied something called as Mansabdari system. That's most importantly what we will discuss in your evolution. We will not discuss about Mughals as a whole. We will only discuss about what? Mughal administration. We will not talk about Mughal, what do you call it, architecture, sculpture, that we will not discuss. Only administration part. When you say Maurya, we will not discuss about Kalinga, this, that, all, we will not discuss all, any of them, who succeeded whom, that's not necessary for us. Mauryan, not even Maurya, Kautilya and Arthashastra only will study. He has a very famous concept if you have called as Mandala theory. Mandala theory means foreign policy which was given by Kautilya and Arthashastra, and what he famously tells? He famously tells no two neighbors can be friends, which is more or less relevant even today. You look at India and Pakistan, you look at India, China, no two, even Bangladesh to an extent now, no two neighbors can be friends. That's what famously Mandala theory. And whatever, and Kautilya also famously says that you should always make sure that your neighbors are weak.
because he says if your neighbors are weak, you can control them. If your neighbors are strong, so you'll always have a conflict. That's why you look at it. If your neighbor is weak, you take Bhutan, weak, India has the control. Nepal, weak, India will have the control. Sri Lanka, weak, India can have the control. China, you can't do anything. But you cannot use his ideas more, that's what famously, if you have heard, Kautilya famously is called as a pragmatic thinker. Pragmatic means what? Means he doesn't talk about, what do you call as this, he doesn't talk in imagination, what do you call, theory, something like that. He talks about what works in reality. Pragmatic, realistically what will work. But Kautilya's ideas, you cannot use exactly like that today. Because his ideas were given when? 2400 years back. During that time, the concept of welfare, the concept of United Nations, the concept of Gujarat Doctrine, all those things will not be there. Today we work in a little different way. For example, you might have heard in IR they call a very famous principle called as principle of non-reciprocity. Non-reciprocity means what? India should behave like an elder brother. We will help Bangladesh, but what we don't expect? We don't expect Bangladesh to help us. We will help Nepal or we will help Bhutan. What we don't want? We don't want Bhutan to help us. Principle of non-reciprocity. But what Kautilya believes? Kautilya believes you don't have to help anybody. If you want to help them, what you should? You should get something in return. That's Kautilya. Now you can't do all of them. Absolutely you can't copy paste. That's what famously, if you have heard, that's a very famous mains question of Kautilya. That Kautilya's ideas in international relations, foreign policy is still relevant, critically analyzed. Actually it is still relevant. Not 100%, 60-70%. Fine. And then same way, obviously British, so obvious it is, whatever you follow, the exam that you are writing is also whose idea? British idea only. IAS, IPS is British idea, judiciary is British idea. That is what you call as, look at the legacy of British rule in the Indian politics and administration. Then you have philosophy. That's second chapter is nothing but your preamble. We call your preamble. If in case polity is done, if in case it's not done, don't worry, we'll discuss it later. That's nothing but your philosophical constitutional framework, plus you have few other extra topics that we'll discuss later. Constitutionalism, recall you have a keyword there. Can you recall what is constitutionalism? Limited power. That's what we'll discuss again here. Then PSU. PSU is nothing but if you have heard Jawaharlal Nehru famously described PSUs as temples of modern India. You have different types of PSUs if you have a departmental undertaking, public corporation, government company. Fine, all of them we'll discuss in detail. Pre-1991, PSUs used to play a very, very greater role. Post-1991, their role has come down because who is playing greater role? Private sector is playing greater role. Disinvestments have increased. All of that we'll discuss in detail in your which one. That's why look at it. Impact of liberalization and privatization on PSU we are telling. Like that. Then plans and priority. It is nothing but your planning commission, Niti Aayog, and of course if you have heard there was another body called NDC, National Development Council. Planning commission, National Development Council, Niti Aayog is not, the keyword is not there in the syllabus because this syllabus was made in 2013. Niti Aayog came up when? Yeah, so that's why you will not have Niti Aayog mentioned here. Niti Aayog came up in 2015. So this syllabus was 2-3 years old. But those three are your major plans and priorities. Then administrative reforms that we'll discuss anyhow. In other words, remember first ARC, second ARC, what do you mean by administrative reforms? How administrative reforms will be done? What are the challenges? All of them. This is nothing but your polity. Union government, state government, I have already explained it. Look at the keywords. I think I already briefed it. Then comes your district administration. It is nothing but what? Your DC, district administration, role of DC. For example, during British time, if you have heard, there is a very famous description of DC is what? The DC is like a tortoise who carries the burden of an elephant. That's a famous statement during British time. DC was famously called as what? Little Napoleon. Little Napoleon, Napoleon is who? The French dictator or French military ruler. So look at the description. He is like a tortoise carrying the role of a burden means what? Carrying the burden of an elephant means entire Indian administration burden you have kept it on whom or you have left it to whom? DC. Fine. And the position like DC has never existed anywhere in the world anytime. That is how they have conceptualized it. Now, what we need to understand, why did they create such kind of a position? Why is it continuing even today? Has the role of DC changed from British era to Nehru era, that is pre-1991 to post-1991? That's what is nothing but broadly evolution of the role of district collector over a period of time. All that we need to discuss. Changing role of the collector. Sure. Yeah, that, and obviously the link to that chapter is your law and order. Law and order is nothing but what? Role of your police. Why do we follow hierarchical police? Understood? There is an image of police. Remember, police means you have to be very tough. People has to fear looking at you, all those things. Because that is based on British identity. They would majorly be called as two major types of policing. Called as, if you have heard, Royal Irish Constabulary System and London Metropolitan System. Forget about that, that we will discuss later. Means there are two ideas of police. One is called as police is public, public is police. That idea British did not implement here. In India they implemented a system called as police means force. Force means what? Police has to be tough. Police has to create a fear in the minds of people. That idea of police they implemented here in India. But in Britain they implemented the idea of what? Police is public, public is police. Means police have to work with the people and get the, work closely with them. Here they implemented the idea of what? Police means force. Post-independent we implemented the idea of police means service. That's why if you have seen during British time, it was just called IP. IP means what? Imperial police, that too. Later they named it as Indian police. Which word was not there? Service word itself was not there. Post-independence they renamed it as Indian Police Service. Because for British it was not a service, it was a force. Force means what? Make use of police, control the people. Then the idea changed a bit. But all we'll discuss in your law and order administration. Same way if you have heard, I think even in politics sometimes you would have told criminalization of politics. Remember, according to ADR, 45% of Lok Sabha MPs in 17th Lok Sabha have criminal charges against them. How did that concept come up? All of that we'll discuss. Then rural, look, this is again your polity. Rural local, urban local means what? Panchayat, municipality. Look at the amendment. 73rd, 74th, polity. This is absolutely polity. Few new words are there that we'll discuss later if you have heard. New localism, all of them, we don't study in your polity. These two chapters, almost 80-90% is nothing but copy paste of your polity. With a little 10-20% extra, we'll study that. Then significant issues is nothing but your corruption, coalition governments, all of them. Civil, that's nothing but you are against civil service. Normally what we'll do, your civil service chapter and your personal administration chapter will combine and do, because both of them are same. Same way, your financial administration chapter, and look at it, financial management chapter will combine and do, because more or less they deal with the same things. Yeah, so that is broadly your syllabus of public administration. So paper 1 is your theory part, paper 2 is your Indian administration part, and you should have a hold on all the chapters. That's why I remember I told you in the beginning, when you write answer, you should write it as what? Overall public administration answer. You cannot write it like, okay, this is chapter 2 of paper 1, I will only write about that. You cannot write like that. You have hold on all the 26 chapters. That's why any optional you take, you will not get a hold on it in just first few classes itself, you will not get a hold. You should finish the entire classes plus at least 2, 3, 4 revisions you need to have. Then you will go to the stage of scoring 260, 270. Then comes your 280, 290 range. Directly you cannot get to, what do you call this, sir, directly I should get 270, 280. It's not so easy. Not only this option I am telling, any option also it will take a lot of time to get a hold. And normally how will the classes be conducted? I think you know by now, we have already in Insights, we have fixed the schedule. Classes will be from when to when? 7 to 10. Mostly I will take it from, because I will not give a break in the morning class, normally I will take it from 7:30 to 10. Another bigger change. For normally, almost from 2019 or 2020 till last year, me and Shailesh sir used to do it together. Shailesh sir used to do, I think now a few of you might not be aware of him, because he used to take economy classes. Now he is not conducting the classes. he used to take what do you call this, not paper 1, overall what do you call this, few chapters of paper 1 and chapter 2 paper 2 used to handle, rest of the paper 1, rest of paper 2 I used to handle, almost 50% we are divided. But now he is occupied with some other what do you call this, and he is busy in some other work, so that's why entire public administration I will be handling, fine, including your paper 1 also. But maybe few other chapters, I mean, if in case I am busy, Chale sir will not be handling it, we'll see, but this is my responsibility now, 100%. Earlier, me and Shailesh used to handle together. I think got an idea, right? Fine, because most of the students had put that. Then how the class will be there, as I told timings, you know that. Then normally, which we normally do it in polity also, once you finish a particular topic, we'll try to discuss your PYQs. So because only when you do PYQs, I keep telling that, mains means 2 keyword, syllabus, PYQ. Without that, you should not do anything. So as far as possible, we'll discuss, how much ever possible, we'll discuss PYQ. And of course, I will make you write, I mean, you have to keep writing regularly all of those things. Clubbing, I think I've already told you, clubbing similar units, like as I told, civil service, personal administration will be done together. All of that, that is fine. And will not go in the order. Order means what? It will not be like we'll start from paper 1, chapter 2, something like that. Of course, we'll first 2-3 chapters we'll do it. Normally what I'll, just to understand I'm telling, I'll start with introduction, thought, behavior. Even organizations will do. Then normally we'll jump to comparative development, public policy, because these 6 are the most important chapters. Then we'll come back to your accountability, administrative law, personnel, techniques, financial, later we'll do. Because major part is your 6 chapters. Introduction, theory, behavior, even systems is also not very important, maybe 1 or 2 chapters, I mean 1 or 2 subtopics, comparative, public policy, development. 5-6 chapters are the base. That we'll do first. Later we'll come to other things. Clear? And let's same way, Indian administration also when we do, what we'll do? These union government, state government we'll do together. District administration, law and order we'll do together. Rural, local we'll do together. Same way, public sector undertaking, planning we'll do together. Evolution, philosophy we'll do together. Like that we'll combine. That's what you call it as, I mean, clubbing and order of the importance and everything. Sir, which books I have to take? In the beginning, you don't have to go and buy any particular books. Maybe because we'll be starting anyhow in another week. If you want to do it, what you can do? Go and refer in IGNOU. Remember Indira Gandhi National Open Universities, you have PDFs available online. BA Public Administration, introduction chapter or theory chapter, just try to go through it. Which one I am telling? IGNOU, BA Public Administration, you don't have to buy or take Xerox or anything, you have PDFs available online. Introduction chapter or thinkers chapter, just go through the basics. For this 1 week I am telling. Other books are there, even that you don't have to buy it now. Most of it, I'll like how we do it in normally in polity classes, we'll take care of the notes and everything. But once you finish off your classes, of course you have to refer to which one? Some reference books, some additional chapters, then you have to value add. That we have to take care of it later. In the beginning, if you want to buy the books, you buy. You don't have to go directly study these chapters, because basics I'll take care of it. Of course, we'll also refer these books only and we'll take care of it. Then you can do the value addition. Clear? These are your books. Radha Binodharimam, who is an IAS officer also, he has compiled it both for paper 1 and paper 2. Then you have Mohit Bhattacharya, very famous for paper 1, Thinkers paper 1, Arora and Goyal for paper 2, and then few second IRC report, not all of them, few are there, most importantly personal administration, like that. But again, we'll discuss it about it later. Clear? No need to buy anything as of now. Even if you buy, it's fine, but no need to read, study. Only if you want to study which one? IGNOU, BA, Public Administration, Introduction chapter and Thinkers chapter. If you find PDF and if you have time, go through it, or else that's also fine. I'll take care of it when we start the classes. Yeah, what is expected by UPSC? I've already summed it up. Paper 1 and paper 2, both you need to link. In other words, you should have a overall understanding of PUBAD. That's the major expectation of UPSC. Another most important one, just to go through it, look at it. This is mentioned in UPSC syllabus, notification itself. Look how clearly they tell. the scope of the syllabus for optional subjects, means your papers, whatever you leave that paper 6 and 7, is broadly of honors degree level. Honors degree means what? One level above your UG, undergraduation. That's what is level higher than bachelor's, lower than master's. But in the case of engineering, medicine, law, the level corresponds to bachelor's degree. You leave out that last sentence doesn't work for us. First sentence means like how you have in your graduation UG, if you have done a little above that, you need to have the hold. But mostly you can assume it is of your PG level. It's somewhere in honors and PG. The questions will not be like your UG level. Questions will be like your, like for example, how are the questions of public administration optional? Like when you do your MA in public administration, in IGNOU a lot of people do that. Like how you have your MA public administration question, more or less same way you will have your PubAd questions in your UPSC mains also. Same applies to anybody because this is for any optional. Sir, how are sociology question papers in UPSC? Like how you have MA sociology questions, you will have your UPSC sociology question. Same way is for your political science also, same way is for everything. That's what is your honors degree. This is UPSC notification, official ones. Yeah. I think this all I have already explained, not necessary. And then basic ones, first create a base and bigger challenges there that we'll discuss. Common mistakes we'll discuss first. First biggest mistake or you can say challenge is what? Not having a consolidated notes is the biggest challenge. The reason is what? Remember, if you know the mains, what do you call this schedule, you will have your essay plus GS1, GS2, GS3, GS4 plus normally you will have 5 days gap between your optionals, GS4 to optional. Your notes should be in such a way that in that 5-day gap, at least you should be able to revise your entire optional, any optional you take. I am telling you because we are discussing PubAd, entire PubAd, at least 2 to 3 times you should be able to revise. In how many days I am telling? In that 5-day gap. Because if you are not able to revise this exam, by now you should have understood, especially mains, only if you are able to revise, you can recall in the exam. Because you don't have to, you don't literally have the time to discuss or recall anything there. Whatever comes to your mind, you have to write. And logically you think, if something has to just flow like that, that means what you should have already done. You should have already written it. Remember, as they keep telling, it should be in your fingertip, they tell. It should be in your fingertip means what? It should be in your subconscious mind. That applies to your GS also. And that's why notes is the biggest thing in your mains. Not only for this, even for your GS. You don't have notes at one place, impossible to score well in mains. So that's why you should have that most important thing, consolidated notes. Understood? And not doesn't mean consolidated means like when you finish the classes, your notes will be like what? Like 3 to 4, what do you call this, 300, 400 page books you will have, almost let's say 1000 page notes you will have. That notes we are not talking about. That is your first level of notes. Then that notes you will revise how many? Minimum 5 to 10 times you have to revise before your mains. Then by the time of your mains, you have what? Paper 1 of PubAd means maximum 100 sheets. Paper 2 of PubAd means maximum 100 sheets. Even some people do it in 50, 60 sheets also. If you have that level of notes, short notes, what you call it as, that means you are already cleared the mains. Because you can revise it so many times. Even, sir, can I revise it using my 1000 page notes? You can. But you should have already revised it what? So many times. That's okay. But if you have short notes, that is the best thing that can happen for your mains. But you can't make short notes directly, right? If you want to make short notes, what you should have first done? You should have first done your 1000 page notes or 800,000 page notes. Then if you revise and revise and revise, then you can make 1 page notes. It's like that. Same thing applies for your mains also. Like for example, GS2. Normally when I do it, if you have heard intensive bridge course, when you do that, that itself will stretch till 300, 400 page, one GS2 itself. So what I will tell them, you revise it 5 to 6 times. By the time of your mains, GS2 notes should be in 50 sheets. Federalism, one side, done. Parliamentary system, one side, not even 1 page. I understood the right, one side means just 1 side, that's it. Fine. So if you have it like that, that means very high chances you will score 110, 120 in your GS. Very high chances you will get 270, 280 in mains. I mean optional. Yeah, and then another bigger mistake of any optional is what? Writing general answers. General answers means what? Not bringing the theory touch. That's what as I told, you should have a broader understanding. And then okay, leave out about that. Yeah, these are all I have already summed up. Integrate everything into one notes, and that words matter a lot. Yeah, fine, that's all fine. Sir, how to write a good answer? What do you mean by that? These are all I have told it, but what do you mean by that? See, look at the question here. They have asked about just a general answer we have taken from a topper. Discuss the role of recruitment in efficiency performance of organization. How its role is significant in human resource development. Now look, if you look at the answer, you will understand. See, they have given him 15 out of 20. Why have they given him 15 out of 20? The reason is what? Look at the first, you look at the presentation aspect. Fine, easily you can read. Spacing between the lines and words are there. All the keywords he has underlined. And look at the organization. Where is he starting his paragraphs? Look at it. Everything is according. And look at where is he starting there. I mean, can you observe that? So does it matter? Matters a lot. Presentation matters a lot. That's one aspect. Then you have to look at the language, because language you can't understand now. In other words, the technical words. I'm making you look at his answers. Look, everything. He has used some kind of whatever, tabular column kind of a one, or mind map kind of a one. And look at it, he has used a kind of pyramidal approach. All these will make your answer look very, very easy for the evaluator to read. Fine. And in addition to that, obviously, he has tried to cover entire space management. Means normally, you by now you would have understood 10 marker means you will get 2 sides, 15 marker means 3 sides, because it's a 20 marker 4 sides. All space, entire space he has filled, not mandatory, but if you fill it, you have very high chance of getting 1 marks more. If he has ended in 3.5 page, you would have got maybe 13, 12, 14, something like that, because he has written entire space 50. 15 is a very good score, but normally you will get, remember, 60% score is you can score. Means what? Out of 500 up to 300 you can score. Chances, I am telling, very good score, because but in GS you have only 50% score. 50% means what? Out of 250, how much is the highest? 125 means you are on the top. Ethics is an exception. Last year, if you have seen, they have given till 140. That's an exception. Other than that, 50% is very, very good score in GS. Optional, 60% is very good score. 300 out of 500. I like that. This is how you need to write an answer. You can make use of tabular columns, all those things. That's what technically we have told here. You need to address the why aspect, demand of the question, use specific keywords, subheadings you have to make, link paper 1 to paper 2, good introduction, good conclusions. Don't beat around the bush, means address the demand of the question as quickly as possible. Wherever possible, use your flow charts and everything. So then, I think rest of it is fine. I have already covered it. Sir, how many classes will be conducted? I have already told you 100 classes you can take. 100 into 3, around 300 hours of classes you need. Any optional, for them to complete in detail, you need 300 hours of class, no doubt about it. Any optional, not only this I am telling. So you can assume from August till it will go till December mid or December end. 100 hours so is, 100 classes is more than enough. Then obviously recorded classes, all those things will be available, and mentorship, all the, that's all. I need not separately mention it. I think you will be aware of that. Yeah, fine. Now this is broadly about your optional. I think I have tried to address most of the concerns. If you guys have any specific questions, and I think the cost of it, all those things, by now they would have already put it. Any other doubts you have with respect to the optional, you guys please ask. Kelly, what doubts you had? I think I have tried to address most of it. If in case you have anything extra, syllabus related, or how the classes will be conducted, who will be taking the classes, that also I have clarified by now. Anything else? When will the classes be conducted? I think that also I have clarified. As of now, I have mentally fixed to start from August 1st. If I have some other classes occupied, 1 or 2 days, it might get delayed, but you can assume August 1st or August 1st week. Okay? Any other things? Is that it? Can we end? Fine. Online students, if whoever are watching, if in case you have any doubts, please Yeah, fine then. If you have any doubts, you can ask. If you want to ask individually also. Thank you then. We'll meet again in few days, August 1st.